Good afternoon and good morning. Welcome to Charlie Mike 2022, hosted by the National Veteran Small Business Coalition. Again, thank you for joining us today. We'd like to thank our sponsor, BAA Systems, for making this webinar series possible. A couple of notes, the networking dinner, it's on March 9th, that's next month. To give you more information on a networking dinner is at the Army Navy Country Club, and we will send a link out to all attendees to join us for that evening event. And of course, our annual conference, VETS 2022, will be May 17th to the 20th, and registration is now open. If you go to our website, you can register for the conference. Okay, today's webinar is an hour and a half, and it's now being recorded. We'll send a copy of this recording and the slides to all attendees by Friday. If you have any questions to this webinar, you can type it in the right side of the screen on your control panel. And of course, I am Earl Morgan, the Program Director of the NVSPC, and I would like to welcome our good friend and good buddy, Josh Frank. He's been an NVSPC member and supporter since 2010. He's an award-winning business coach, speaker, and best-selling author. Josh, thank you very much for taking out time for your busy schedule to join us today.
Oh, you betcha.
Josh, make Josh the presenter in a second here.
All right, let's see here.
Okay, you're up, Josh.
All right, there we go. All right, show my screen, bring it up, go presentation. All right, so Earl, can you see the slide, hear the voice?
I can see the slide and hear your voice.
Excellent. All right. First of all, happy Tuesday to everybody. And we're going to be, this is one of those very unique webinars where it's, standard in the market is, hey, here's tactics for selling and, here's strategies for, teaming with other companies. But there are so many companies that are having challenges with, the old adage of the chicken and the egg. I don't have enough money to hire a strong business developer. So until I win a contract, I can't do it. And that's bogus. And I'm going to show you today some tactics and strategies of how to approach this. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Josh Frank. I'm with RSM Federal. I'm a speaker and author, and I'm a coach. I'm a member of NVSPC, have been for many years. In fact, I'm hoping all of you will join us in May for VETS 22. I'm going to be emceeing the conference this year again, and I'm looking forward to that. I've been in the market for over 30 years. I'm a former Intel guy. I'm with former Army, and I'm a huge small business advocate. And so, chairman for the Veterans Advocacy Foundation Midwest, Missouri, Kansas, Iowa, Nebraska, Southern Illinois, and I work with other folks. My specialty are tactics and strategies, and that is a reason why our FA members and our clients do so well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. This is going to be some basic to advanced concepts today. As Earl indicated, slides will be available after the session. And we're going to look at how should you look at commissions. We're going to talk about the different types of business developers. We're going to talk about how do you interview. I mean, like real specific questions, so that people aren't pulling the wool over your eyes and you're either getting a quality business developer or you're not, right? Because one of the most expensive things that you can undertake is hiring the wrong person. Hiring the wrong person costs you another $60,000, $80,000, even beyond the salary that you may be paying them, and just replacing them and doing the ads and looking at resumes. The compensation plan, crazy, bloody important. We're going to talk about how you build those. I'll give you a case study. We'll talk escalators as a part of compensation. We'll also talk about legally, what do you really have to do? I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving you legal advice. But there are, when do you actually pay commissions? When do you stop if they leave the company, etc. So let's talk first compensation and expectations. I hear these all the time, right, from our clients. I'll worry about that in a few years once, the company makes more money. Hey, I'm not paying anybody that kind of money until, we hit a certain threshold in revenue. I'm not paying anybody until they've proven to me they're worth it, right? Maybe after a real large deal. And I'm sure as heck not paying anyone $400,000, let alone $150,000. And you have to remember, you're in this to make money. You have to understand that these are all mental barriers, okay? Because with the right compensation package, the right compensation strategy, you can attract these $500,000 business developers, sales professionals, and recognize that there's a difference between salary and the rest of the compensation package. So many of you are likely saying some of these today. I'm going to show you how you get past these, okay? But before I do, there are three primary types of business developers, sales professionals in our market. This is market agnostic. I don't care if we're talking commercial or federal or state and local. I don't care if we're talking federal, right? State, local, doesn't matter. It's market, industry agnostic. Most sales professionals fall into the average, 90%, right? They're like gerbils on a wheel. They have lots of activity, right? There's little strategic direction. They don't understand how to communicate the value of your company's products or services. It's all about the capabilities, right? Very reactive. The average business developer, again, 9 out of 10 sales professionals fall into average. They will increase your revenue maybe by a small percentage, and they rarely make their sales quota, okay? Think about that for a minute. I'm right. You're like, yeah, we've hired a lot of salespeople and so many of them just don't succeed. That's because they're on the average side, okay? Now, again, I'm going to show you and give you the questions you need to ask as a part of the interview process. But until then, let's stick here. Your stars, that's 9%, right? Right. Now, your stars, they're either really, really good at business development or they're really, really good at sales, not both. And when you go, well, Josh, what's the difference? Business development, filling a pipeline with really strong qualified opportunities, collecting market intelligence, attempting to influence the acquisition, communicating with the decision makers, ghosting requirements, right? But until you get to that win or lose, that's just business development. The sales in this example is you win the contract. So there are a lot of business developers and sales professionals out there. Now I'm going to just go back to straight all business developers. They're really, really good at positioning in the market, but they just can't get it over the line, right? They just can't help the company close the sale. Stars are really strong in one or the other, okay? In a crowded room, they're going to talk to folks they don't know, right? They have great interpersonal skills. They will hit their sales quota. They'll increase your revenue, company revenue, by a very large number. Then you got your superstars, okay? Superstars, they're experts at both. They're very proactive. In a crowded room, they talk to everyone, and they will double your company's revenue. Now, obviously, most of us want those superstars, right? I will tell you that most of us will get a star or superstar. You know, so if 9 out of 10 are average, right, in the market, for that 1 out of 10, 90% of that one will be the stars. And then that just 1 out of the 10, you know where I'm going with that. So this presentation, this training seminar is talking about how do we, first one, what questions do we ask and how do we validate that we're actually getting or talking to a star or a superstar? And then for those of you thinking, I just can't afford this kind of one of those people, then the second half of the training session, we're going to talk about how you build a compensation package that brings them on board. Okay. So we need to have accurate expectations. You know, no matter how bad we want something, the sales cycle in the government is, we could go market agnostic. I don't care if we're talking commercial or federal, but on the federal side, somewhere between 3 to 12 months, right? And so you got to recognize it takes a while for a salesperson to win that first big major contract. There are exceptions for product companies that sell commodity. But you know, how long will it take for you to win a contract? That's one of the questions you should ask. It's not a fair question. Well, it's fair, but you want to see how they respond, right? Now, in general, how long does it take for a business developer to win a major contract in the government space? Average developer, it's going to take 1 to 2 years. That's why it's so bloody important that we know what questions to ask and we get the right people in the first place, okay? 10% of those average business developers actually win a contract. Think about that for a minute. 9 out of 10 business developers are average. And of those 9, only 10% are actually going to win a contract, okay, before they get fired. Your stars will win that first contract in 9 to 18 months, superstars in 6 to 12. You've got to have accurate expectations. If you are having issues with cash flow and you're thinking to yourself, I need to hire somebody to bring in a contract and we need a major contract in 6 months in order to keep our lights on, that's not realistic, okay? By the way, if you said to me, Josh, I don't have a choice, how do I do that? I'm going off script. I would say over the next 3 months, you need to successfully get on to 20 teams as a subcontractor. Don't worry about writing proposals. Sell your value, communicate your value, talk to a ton of companies, and just start getting on as many teams as you can. Law of averages, assuming a 5 to 1 win rate. You win 1 out of every 5, you make a couple hundred here, million there, etc. Okay? But you got, all right, so back on script, you got to have accurate expectations for your salespeople. They're not, if they bring something in 6 months, that's bloody awesome. You're taking care of them from a commission perspective anyway. But most salespeople don't bring them in that fast, okay? I mentioned there were exceptions, right? If you sell commodity, if you're a product company, you know, I've gone into dibs, right? I have 2 companies, RSM Federal and our team there, but we also have Veteran Warehouse Supply, and we sell to the VA and DoD. We can go into dibs and win a product bid 7 days, right? Lightning fast. Service companies, no, you're going to be on a much longer timeline, okay? I was talking about business development, sales, definitions, people's minds. What do all these mean? Capture management is all the way from prospecting through execution, okay? So business development is identifying these opportunities and moving them through the pipeline. This is important because this plays a key role in how you interview these sales professionals, because a core part of what you're looking for is not simply, do they put the opportunities into the pipeline and gee, did we respond to a source of saw? Did we write a proposal? Did we win? Did we lose? Your core focus, your number one key focus is whether your salespeople are moving those opportunities through the pipeline, so that you're more and more competitive, which means your pipeline needs to have phases, right? It's in our territory. It's qualified. We're talking to a decision maker and we're influencing. We responded to a source of sought. We're in proposal phase. We're in source selection phase. We won, we lost. Okay. I'm not going to go through how you manage pipeline here today, but you need to have stages in your pipeline. Those stages is how you move opportunities through the pipeline. Okay. Now let's talk about the interview and what questions you should ask. And I don't know, I think I have 14, 15 questions here, and we're going to walk through them because I want you guys to have these in your toolkit so that the next time you interview a business developer, you're like, aha, okay, this is how other folks do it. But before we go to the questions, resumes. You cannot trust resumes. We all know this, right? We know this, but I'm going to re-emphasize it. It's too easy to BS a resume for what we think the hiring manager is looking for, okay? So don't focus on resumes, focus on references, okay? And how they answer your questions. Now, quick note on references, this isn't in the slides. You know, when I am hiring somebody and I go, hey, I need 3 references that I can call, I'll call those references and I'll talk to them. But the last question I ask every reference is, who else that you know Mary worked with, who else knows Mary besides you that I can reach out to? It's sort of like the security clearance, right? When you're getting a security clearance and they for you know DOD or the federal government, and they go, we need 3 references. They don't ask those 3 references a single question. They ask those references for other references, because I have to assume the 3 references that you gave me, I've already prepped them and said, hey, tell them I'm just awesome. So why would you trust the 3 references, right? Unless they're going to give you a lot of metrics. I always want to get outside that. It's not always possible and it's hard to do, but we don't want to hire the wrong person. Years experience. How important is that? Yeah, it's sort of important, but what if they're an average business developer? They've been a business developer for, let's say, 20 years, and they've been at 6 different companies. Well, what if they've really never hit their quota at any of these companies? They win a little here and there, but they barely cover their salary, right? Years experience, don't just rely on that by itself, because they just may be average. You need to validate that. It's all about their win percentage, right? So these are the common questions, right? To start with, how important is industry experience? It depends, right? There's a lot of companies that go, you know, we sell technology. The salespeople have to have a technical background. Okay, maybe. We sell batteries, like for boats and for other naval systems, as well as commercial. How important is it that that salesperson have a background in selling specifically batteries to the Department of Defense? Well, again, it depends. I would tell you that first of all, the stars and the superstars can sell anything. Okay. Now, you want them whenever possible to be in your industry, obviously, because they know the language, the terminology, etc. But a superstar, a star, they can jump between industries and still just knock it out of the park, because they understand the tactics and strategies of positioning in the market and selling. Okay. So industry experience, yeah, it depends. How many years experience? Don't focus on years experience. Like I said, focus on win percentage, right? And you know, some of the questions you ask, what was your win rate, right? How important is background in set-asides? Let's say we're all SDVOSB, right? Or VOSB. Many of us probably on the seminar today, and those that watch it on demand, most of us are all veteran because it's MVSBC. How important is that certification? How important is it that the salespeople know how to take advantage of it? It's not, okay? Because you're never going to win anything because you are certified veteran or service disabled veteran. You will this is another webinar all unto itself. You're never going to win a contract because you got certified by the VA, okay? Or soon to be the SBA. What's the average number of let me finish that thought. You don't win because you're certified SDVOSB. You win because you've communicated your value, period. That's it. For those of you that are still like looking at me cross-eyed like the goldfish in my daughter's fish tank in her room, if there's a SDVOSB set aside or a VOSB set aside and 10 companies submit proposals, there is one and only one thing that all 10 companies have in common. Yeah, they're all VOSB or SDVOSB. At that point, your certification means absolutely bupkis. Absolutely nothing. Okay? And you need to think about your certifications in that light. At that point, you got to communicate your value. Okay? What's the average number of interviews that I may have to perform to find one of these stars or superstars? 10 to 15. The average company does 3 to 6. 3 to 6. If you get to 6 and you go, I just can't find anybody else, don't hire one of those first 6, not unless you absolutely know they hit it out of the park. To find those stars and superstars is probably going to take 10 to 15. And why? Because stars and superstars are not looking for jobs. Oh, that's another fact of the market. The majority of business developers that are out there looking for jobs, they're average. Because if they were stars or superstars, they'd be successful at whatever company they're at, which means we have to steal strong salespeople from other companies. Folks, that's how it works. That's how it works. So the next time you go on to Monster or Indeed or Dice, whatever site you're looking at to find resumes, you also want to be talking to your colleagues going, look, we're looking for a business developer. I don't care if they're currently working for another company. This is what we're looking for, and we have a really strong compensation package, which we'll get to here in a little bit. So 10 to 15. Oh, I love this one. What about hiring a retired general or an SES, a senior executive service, right? Which is the equivalent of a 1-star general or higher, or even a lieutenant colonel or full bird colonel. You got to be careful, okay? I know a lot of small and large companies. When I ran the Department of Defense for MasterCard Worldwide up in DC, we hired a 3-star general, a retired he was general of not the Air Force, but like 1 step down, right? When I worked for another company, we had an SES and we had a colonel. Before you hire, yes, they can open doors. Oh my God, they can open doors for you. But that doesn't mean they can walk through them and close deals for you. Here's an example. There was a 3-star. No names, right? It's not the one that I worked with at MasterCard, but there was a 3-star. This company hired that 3-star general, not as an employee, but as a 1099 consultant, and they paid like 10 or 25,000. I don't remember the number. But here's the problem: Everybody at the Pentagon opened their doors for him, but nobody liked him. Everybody hated this guy. They hated this retired general. And it's 50-50 whether you're men and women in uniform like your leadership or not. So this company spent all this money, and yeah, oh, hello, General, great seeing you again. Oh, who'd you bring with you? But they disliked the general or the colonel so much, they're like, I don't care what this company has to say. We're not doing anything with this team. That happens all the time. So be careful and make sure there's nothing wrong with hiring retired flag officers or senior executives or even field grade officers that have retired, but do your due diligence and make calls where they liked, because if they weren't liked, you are wasting your money. So just keep that in mind. Crazy important. Okay. And we're going to talk this when we get into the questions. Were they at their last company, were they in charge of BD, or was it a team effort and they were just a member of the team and they're taking credit for a large acquisition that they really didn't position for on their own? And the questions that we're going to go through here very soon covers those pieces to ensure that you're not getting a team effort. Okay, so let's start going through these questions, okay? Oops, something just happened here. Let me close that out. People can see you, fine, all right. I just clicked a button, Earl. Can you please verify you can still see my slide and hear my voice?
Yeah, I can still see your slide and hear your voice.
Excellent, thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, question number one. How long is it going to take for you to win a contract? Average business developers hate this question, okay, with a passion, right? But you want to ask it because you want to understand how mature they are. Because the young business developers, the immature, the average, they're going to tap dance on you, okay? The reality is there's a 3, 6, 12-month ramp up for any business developer you hire, okay? It's going to take 3 months. This is not the answer they're giving you, but I'm telling you, 3 months to understand your company, what your value is that your product services provide, how to differentiate the company and its product services, and how to position in the market. I won't say which of the superstar columns I'm in, but it takes someone like me 3 months to really understand a company and how to position, right, for sales. In 6 months, the pipeline should already have opportunities, right? So, and sales never stops, right? So, I mean, day one, on the ground, your salesperson should be finding opportunities, qualifying opportunities, putting them in the pipeline, etc. At the end of 6 months, you should have a strong crop of opportunities. Maybe you've won one before that 6 months, but 6 months, pipeline is being put in place, right? 12 months, all the events, right? Industry days, conferences, you're moving opportunities through the pipeline. Now we're up and running at 6, fully up and running at 6 months, but there's a 3, 6, 12-month ramp up for really good salespeople. Average, you're talking years. Now, those of you that are owners are thinking, no way, Josh, no bloody way would I hire somebody that's going to sit on my bench for 6, 12 months and not pay for themselves. This goes back to you have to have realistic expectations, okay? Realistic expectations. This is the way it works. We can want and hope that it's going to be different, But I mean, look, before I started RSM, what, 15 years this year, I worked for Fortune 100. I worked for small business. I worked for 8As and SWSBs, everything. I was the #1 salesperson at every single company I worked at. And it always took me 12 to 14 months to win that first major contract. Seriously, that's what it takes, right? Now, some companies, I won $1 million here or 750,000 there, in that first 12 months. One, I think I won it 3 months as a subcontractor. But that's the gravy. You have to think 3, 6, 12. Now, when you're interviewing salespeople, they're not idiots. Well, some are, but most aren't. Most aren't. Okay. They're going to tell you, well, none of them are going to say, well, it's going to take me a year or two. No, they're never going to say that. And they know what you want to hear. Well, probably 3 to 6 months, I should position, definitely within 9 to 12. But if they start sweating, and you're looking at them on webcam or you're face to face, and they're all fidgety and they're looking at anywhere but you, move on. Okay? They're not confident enough. That's why you ask the question, how long will it take you to win a contract? It's less the answer and it's more how they respond and their body language. Now, if they come at you and go, look, it's going to take 6, 12 months because I got to do this, this, and this, that's bloody awesome. But the average salespeople are too afraid or don't understand that, and so they don't say it, unless, of course, they're watching this session today. The absolute most important question that you ask a salesperson is, well, hey, Mike, can you outline how you find opportunities, how you engage them, how you then position with the government and teaming partners, and how you ensure that the proposal is going to be competitive so that we win? This covers pretty much every single question you can possibly imagine that you're probably already asking today. But you need to ask this question. Now, you're likely going to have to walk them through it. You're going to have to hold them by the hand, right? But it's all about the life cycle. And you can say, I want to ask you a question about the life cycle, sales life cycle, and then ask them this question, okay? This question is more important than the references, okay? It's more important than what they've done in the past. It speaks to their tactics and strategies, okay? Because the average business developers really don't have tactic strategies. They just regurgitate the same, I'm going to team with other companies and, and I'm going to move opportunities into my pipeline, and I'm going to go to industry days and go to conferences. I'm going to spend all your money in hotel rooms and airfares so I can go hobnob with my friends. That question is critical, okay? Everything is optics, right? Again, strategies for engaging opportunities is where you got to focus, okay? I've already walked through this. Let's see if there's anything else in here that I want to talk to. Nope, I've already said everything on this slide. Give you an example. I'm a fairly strong salesperson. I got hired by a company called Newberry. This was before I started my company long ago. And, I was initially interviewed in Washington, D.C. because I was working for MasterCard. And the head of sales loved me, but the owner wanted me to come back to St. Louis and interview again. So I did. And she asked me, and she said, how long is it going to take? And I said, it'll probably take about a year. And her jaw dropped. And she was like, why would I hire you if it's going to take that long? And I had to walk through the whole 3, 6, 12-month process. Now, At month 13, I won the largest contract the company had in the last 5 years at $10 million. And it was a subcontract to IBM. Okay. So the stuff that I'm talking, it's not just school book or MBA or, this is reality. It takes time. The real strong salespeople understand that. Okay. Question number 3, sort of part of number 2, right? I'd like you to walk me through how you perform business development. It's a really good question, right? Now, the bullets here are, I want to hear I want to hear answers on prospecting, full and open versus set asides if you're small, right? How you collect intelligence, your pipeline, relationships, meeting with decision makers. If they don't touch on these, you need to feed them. Well, talk to me about how you collect intelligence on an opportunity, right? Are they using Sam's data bank? Are they using usaspending.gov? Whatever system they use, you got to get specifics from them. And if they just say the same stuff and you're like, I'm not hearing advanced strategies here, then they're probably average. Next question, what systems you use? Now, these systems are not a replacement for strong BD. There are a lot of business developers out there that use GovWin or GovTribe or Bloomberg or GovSpend. There's 1,000 systems out there for bid matching, right? Most average salespeople spend all day in those systems. And when you ask them, hey, so where are we on this opportunity? Well, Josh, the government just released an update that said, this opportunity is moving 3 months to the right due to blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, everybody's got that info. You sound like you have a lot of intel, but all you're doing is regurgitating and spitting back to me the data that you're finding in the bid matching system that we're paying for you $40 a month or $8,000 a year or whatever it is, right? Those systems are not a replacement. In fact, those systems are not business development. Those systems are nothing but intelligence, market information that you use as a part of your business development process, right? A lot of companies don't get that. So if you're interviewing somebody, you do want to ask them about online systems and bid matching systems, pipeline systems, right? If you use Salesforce, if you use Zoho, if you use HubSpot, if you use Monday.com, whatever systems you use, if they already know how to use it, that's a bonus, right? But you can teach them any of those systems. If you're interviewing and all they talk about is, oh, we use GovWin extensively. Really? Tell me what you used it for. If they think all you want to hear about is how awesome these systems are and how you use them, you got to be cautious because it's just a system, right? Those bid matching systems are nothing but information systems. Anyway, question number 5, who have you successfully sold to, right? And then a follow-up question, hey, well, we sold, last company, we sold to FEMA. Really? What's the greatest challenge you found in selling to them? These questions make them think, right? I mean, some of these are not rocket science. Most of these aren't rocket science, but you got to ask them. Another question. Talk to me about your role at the last company. This is really important, okay? How many pipeline opportunities did you manage? If they can't answer that question, they don't have the methodology and process down for sales, right? How many new opportunities did you add to the pipeline every 3 months, right? What was your bid percentage? In other words, okay, you've got 10 opportunities quarterly in your or monthly in your pipeline. How many of those did the company actually write proposals on? Well, 1 or 2. Now, that's not a bad answer. That's only a 20% bid out of your pipeline. But the more important question would be, why was your bid rate so low? Why was it only 20%? Well, the company, the owner didn't think we were qualified for, those other 8, we would really be competitive. Time out. That's a very important statement that they made. And without realizing it, they've just said to you, they like to dump opportunities in the pipeline because that's what's expected of them. In other words, they're saying 80% of the opportunities they've been putting in the pipeline really weren't qualified and they wouldn't be competitive. That's why you ask about the bid percentage, right? Ask about revenue, ask about your win rate, etc. Another question. This is a crazy important one. Hey, as a part of your BD efforts at the other company, were you for all the contracts that you guys had, or you won while you were there? Were you prime or sub, both? What was the breakdown? You can read what I already have on the slide. Bottom line, if you're a subcontractor, if all the contracts that I won at my previous company were as a sub, man, that doesn't mean I understand sales at all. That just means I know how to talk to another company, convince them to put us on a team. Yes, that takes sales as well. But to prime contracts and position in the market to win a prime contract, it's a different skill set. It's different tactics and strategies. So if you're looking to hire a business developer who's going to be on their own, they're going to work directly for you as the owner. They're not going to say to you, well, we were a sub on everything at the last company, and I was a business developer, we won 3 contracts, and we made $4.5 million. Okay, were those prime or subcontracts? That's a big difference in terms of what I know that salesperson had to do. So you want somebody who's got both, though. Next question. Tell me about your BD team at the last company. You're not asking them, tell me about your efforts. Even though you may not know there was a team, you want to ask the question. So tell me about the BD team at your last company, right? You want them to come back and go, well, the team, we had a fairly strong team. All right, well, immediately I know I have to ask certain questions because he was a part of a team. He wasn't by himself. Therefore, I have to validate that the contracts they won were because of him and not somebody else on the team, right? So I'm going to ask, how many BD folks? Senior BDM, right? Were you senior? Did you report to somebody that talks about maturity, right? Next question. If they're not writing proposals, I want to know how they take an opportunity and communicate that opportunity to the proposal folks or whoever's proposal person, whoever's writing that for your company, okay? You can't just trust your gut, right? You will fail. If you do not ask these questions, right, with the right follow-ups that we discussed, the odds are they're going to be able to BS you and you're going to get an average person, okay? So, most important, identify, how do you engage them, how do you position, how do you team, and how do you ensure the proposal is competitive? That is your focus, okay? Now, take a drink. Compensation. How do you afford the best? Okay, so we now know what questions we need to ask, right? Or some questions. And look, you're all going to have additional questions, your own questions. It may be industry specific. I'm simply saying use some of these, add them to your toolkit. But now, how do you actually get somebody to go, yeah, I've been working in the Beltway for $150,000 a year. Oh, is that base salary? Yeah, that's base salary. Can you send me a pay stub? I swear to God, that's what I do. Okay. I don't, you said you were making 150, send me a pay stub. Now, are you supposed to do that? No. Are they always going to do it? Rarely. But I try to validate that, but regardless, you know what you're willing to pay at a base level. there's a psychology to what we pay people, right? So as business owners, and I'll assume most of us on today are business owners, average base attracts average BD people, okay? The way it is. Also, so many of us that are small business owners, even mid-size and some large, they want their salespeople, oh, you gotta, drink our Kool-Aid, you gotta be, we're awesome. We want you to work weekends, so we want you to work nights, and, you should be as excited as me. Let me tell you something. The real strong business developers could care less about your company. This is psychology, everybody. Like if you were to bring, let's say I was on the market and you wanted to hire me, I'm not drinking your Kool-Aid. I'm going to take the job because I know I can be successful and I can make a boatload of money. I guess buttload too, but we'll go with boat. With a boatload of money, right? I'm not going to drink your Kool-Aid. I'm just not. Now, if you go, I don't want somebody like that. I want somebody that's going to, the culture, and they're going to breathe it like I do, because one day they could be a partner of the company. Okay, well, when you make me a partner of the company, I'll start drinking the Kool-Aid. Until then, I want to win contracts, make hundreds of thousands of dollars, and take trips to the Caribbean. The average people don't think that way, okay? So they're never going to be as excited as you about the company. There's also this barrier, right? Primarily smaller companies, $100,000. Oh my God, no way. I mean, some of you will go 95,000. Yeah, I can afford that. Turn around a week later and you go 100,000. No chance in hell. HELL. There's no way. It is a psychological barrier. All right. But you're confusing salary with compensation. You're confusing salary with compensation. Okay. Because you can do a salary for, depending on where you are in the country, you can be Midwest and going, I don't know, 65 to 85,000, Beltway, 95,000, right? Speaking of which, let me go off slide for a moment. We've got like 1,000 members in our federal access platform, but about 40 companies that are under retainer, and many of them ask for help with, hey, we need to hire another salesperson. And I'm hearing all these stories out of the Beltway. A lot of the average sales professionals in the Beltway, right? DC, Virginia, Maryland, what have you, they're all asking for $250,000, right? If they are not currently employed, they are absolutely not worth six figures right now, okay? There are exceptions, but anyway, psychological barrier, there's salary, and then there's compensation. And I'm going to give you an actual how to think through that process. Hold on one sec. All right. Psychology. I'm not talking corporate distributions, right? Your quarterly distributions when you pay yourself above your own salary, like if you're an S corporation. From a general payroll perspective, your business developers, payroll plus their commissions, they could be making more money than the owner of the company. Not counting the owner's distributions, but they should be making more money than anybody else in the company, right? And I'm going to show you how it works out. These compensation plans need to be profitable win-win. It's going to cost you, but you'll make money. I can't afford the compensation by these top salespeople. No, that's BS. You absolutely can. You just need a strong compensation package. It's about the numbers. So, you've got base, but what you can afford to pay your salespeople is going to be based on your wrap rate or your fully burdened rate, right? If you don't have competitive pricing, if you don't have strong profit margins, you're going to have issues, right? So think about this. whether you're small or mid-size or large, you have 2 office buildings or 2 offices or 2 floors in the same building. You really don't need them, but you're a successful entrepreneur, and one day you're going to use that space upstairs. Right now it's just for storage or what have you. You have excessive costs that is keeping you from being more competitive. So, your variable, your fixed expenses, your indirect expense, whatever expenses you have, if you've got excessive costs, you are by default going to have higher pricing, right? Because you need to make, your margins at whatever, 10%, 15, 40, whatever your margins are, you're going to have higher pricing because you have higher costs, right? It's just business, right? It's profit loss, P&L. The higher you have to have pricing, probably the lower your margins. Less flexibility you have in giving commissions. Therefore, you're hiring average business developers. You're going to have lackluster sales and lack of revenue. So, it's not just about hiring a business developer, a star superstar, and saying, oh, I can say to you, hey, you just got to have a really strong compensation package. You've got to also, in order to afford these folks, right, at some level, you got to have competitive pricing that also allows to have strong margins. Now, when we talk compensation, there's profit sharing, there's spot awards, there's non-financial bonuses. Those last 2 there, no. Those at my level, we're looking at profit sharing. We're looking at strong commissions, right? A lot of companies go, well, I'm going to find somebody commission only. 99 times out of, everybody write this down, 99 times out of 100, that does not work. If you came to me and said, hey, Mary, hey, Mark, will you help sell for us? I'll give you 10% of the contract. You get somebody to do it, okay? I haven't signed on the dotted line. I'm not an employee. In fact, I'm not even a 1099 at this point. I'm probably not a 1099 until I win something. The majority don't win. Why? Because I'm like, oh, I got something better to do today. I mean, he's not paying me a salary, so I'm going to go do something else. Commission only, horrible. Draw against commission. This is an old-fashioned way of doing it, right? Well, I'll let you draw against the commission, but you got to pay back. It's coming out of your whatever salary. Those are horrible. The really, really strong business developers want a base plus commissions plus escalators. And we'll talk that in a minute. There's also, when you're looking at commissions for salespeople, and by the way, there's some companies that go, oh, we don't do commissions. We just do really strong base salaries, right? We pay our people really well. That's marketing BS, okay? That's just marketing. Now, some of you on here are going, well, that's the way we do it. You're not going to attract stars and superstars with we pay everybody really well, so we don't need to do commissions. No, unless you're paying me several $100,000 or more, no, that's not going to work for me. So commissions are going to differ. The percentages, whether it's a new contract, it's an option year, those are the residuals, right? The 3 years or 5 years of the contract are up and you're recompeting. If you win the contract again, that's a different percentage for commission. And I'm going to show you examples here in just a moment. The psychology. I want you to imagine for a moment that you have a salesperson that wins a contract for $500,000. Your profit percentage is 15%. The commission is 5%, right? That's in the agreement, right, for your sales professional. So that's 75% profit. 25 is going to your salesperson. Company's making 50. That's, if I were the owner, I have no problem with this. I want this based on volume. I want 5 or 6 like this. So I'm making $250,000, $300,000, right? Based on this level. I don't care that he's making 20. I don't care that I'm paying my my salesperson 50% or a third, what have you. You know, I'm only getting twice what he's getting. No, you wouldn't have that 50,000 regardless if you didn't have a strong salesperson. Okay. Now, what if your profit is only 10%? You can't change your commissions, right? That's why you got to really make sure your commission percentages are zeroed in. In that situation, the company's making as much as a salesperson. Lower your expenses, lower your costs. You know, if everything was going to be going in at 10%, maybe your commission for new should be 3% instead of 5%. Again, every company will be different. But in certain situations, I would have no problem giving half of the profit to my salesperson. Because look, our rates should cover all of our overhead, our G&A, our fringe. Our fully burned rate should cover running the company. That 25 should just be my money. Okay? Again, you got to control your costs. Now, here's another example. Your salesperson wins 4 contracts for $4.5 million, right? 15% profit, 5%. These are all new contracts, so 5% commission. Base salary 65. You're going to be assuming, well, this is over the life of these contracts. If these are 2 or 3 year contracts, you're not paying for all $4.5 million. You know, it's whatever in that 1 year, right? That from a cash flow perspective. But assuming they stay with the company, the 3 years go by, they will have made $290,000. You make $385,000. Again, some of you are going, wait a minute, our profit's $385 and they're making almost as much at $290. They won you 4 contracts. They're obviously not average. That's what we want. Okay. If you have to, let's say, again, another example, same example, 3%. Well, that just made $90,000 more in profit for the company. You all have to decide on your own which level you want to be at, right? And again, this is it's all psychology. I do not care how much I'm paying my salespeople if they are growing my company. Okay? Is 3% really enough? Well, again, 5 contracts, 24 million profit, 3.5, 3.6, 3% commission. My God, that salesperson's making $785,000 full compensation, and they're sitting at 65,000 salary or 85,000. Pick your poison. You have to be able to show this to your salespeople that you're interviewing. Say, look, hey, Mark, hey, Sally, you win 5 contracts at 24 million. That's almost $800,000 full compensation. And in the first year, that's 1.4 or whatever the number is, right? I just made that up. 3 versus 5%. You're giving up $500,000, right? How much? Yes, you know, it's not about the money. It's about the money. Yes, we want to make money as a company. That's why we're in business. But if I have to negotiate with my salesperson, go, well, all right, how about 4% then, right? You do what you need to do and you negotiate to get one of those stars or superstars. Remember, 90% are average, okay? Maybe they make quota, they're not going to exceed their quota, and you may increase your revenue, or you make them the highest paid employee in the company, and you make millions. And they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars. You got to get into that frame of mind. Now, what if you have a sales manager, okay? What if you have a sales team? New contract, 500K, profit is the same. Maybe if you have a sales team, you set it up and you go, hey, we know we're going to pay out 5% in commissions. 4 will always go to the business developer. 1 will go to the VP in charge of them, right? You're still always going to make that 50,000. Okay. Just because you got multiple people getting commissions, you're not losing money. It's the same amount going out. And if the salesperson has 4 reports, right? Well, and each of them wins a $500,000 contract, they'll get 5,000 commission on each one. And if they want to be making as much money as the salespeople they're managing, well, then they need to do their own sales. Okay. And the odds are the VP is being paid a much higher base level salary anyway. Okay. Imagine you have 2 salespeople. They both hit quota, right? They're both making 250,000 a year. You're making $1 million profit. Some companies go, that's crazy. Nobody's worth that. No, you'd be wrong. That's how business works. Now, this is probably, and we're towards the end here, this is probably one of the most important slides that I've got in the deck. I want you to visualize how commissions work. So many companies do this wrong, and that's because they just don't know any better. They used to be paid a certain way. Here's an example of a $3 million contract, okay? So you've got a base year, and you got 2 option years, right? Years 2 and 3. Then at the end of 3 years, comes back up for bid. You got to be competitive and you got to win that recompete. And again, there's a base year and then 2 more option years. Everybody will have different percentages. You know, and a lot of people go, Josh, well, for my industry, what's the average commission? Every industry is different. Products versus services is different. This is an example, okay? Just an example. Base year, I'm going to pay that salesperson 5%. But in option year number 1, year 2, it drops to 1.5. The 3rd year, it drops to 0.5%. Now, some salespeople are going to go, that's BS. No, I should be paid on, no. Hey, salesperson, excuse me. I pay you to win the contract and I give you the full commission the first year and you get commissions throughout. But I'm not going to have you making 50,000 each year, right? No. After you've won that contract, you need to go win the next one because too many salespeople rest on their laurels those couple of years and go, well, I won that big contract and I'm just sitting golden, sitting good. You do not pay full commission in option years. Otherwise, you're not incentivizing your salespeople to be hungry and win new contracts. Okay. So the way it works, $1 million revenue each year, the margin, your profit is the same, but the commission, you're going to pay 50,000 year 1, then 15 in year 2, 5 year 3. So the company profit grows throughout the life of the contract while incentivizing your salesperson to get back hitting the street and being hungry. Most companies don't do this. The big companies, this is what they do. Okay. Renewal. You got to pay them something because, you know, when you still got a position with your client, and if your salesperson's like, I'm not getting any commission on the recompete, I'm going to go do other things. And then they stop paying attention to the client. And then you start having issues. There's lack of communication. So, you know, you tell your salespeople, hey, this contract's coming up for renewal in 8 months. We need you to start working it hard. They don't get 5% for that base year. They get 2%. Now, this is, again, an example. You may be 3%, 1%, 0.5%, 1%, 0%, whatever it is. And then in those option years on the recompete, The residual, 0. If you don't do it this way, you are not incentivizing your salespeople to hit it out of the park. This is bloody important, okay? Now, people like me are also looking for escalators, right? So as an example, let's say my quota is $1 million, right? I'm going to be paid 5% or whatever the percentage is for your company. And then, from the previous slide, the annual residual will be somewhere between 0.5 to 1.5%. My renewal is 2%. That's the last slide, right? This slide right here, that 5, the 1.5, the 0.5, the 2, what have you, that's the first 3 here. As soon as I win a contract, the next contract that takes me after $1 million, you're paying me 6% commission. Between, or that's a $500,000, all the way up to 2 million, 7, right? You don't jump to an escalator. If you win a $2 million contract, that $2 million contract is at 5%. The next contract is then going to be at 7%. Okay. If there's questions on that, let me know. Escalators, yeah, company is going to keep paying more and more money out, and you're losing profit. But what do you care? You are making millions and millions of dollars in profit. So what if your salesperson is getting paid $2.5 million in total compensation? That's how you got to think. Okay. Now, when do you pay? You always pay on gross receipts. You never pay commissions to anyone until the customer pays you, which means your commission pool doesn't fill until the government pays your invoice, right? Don't pay commissions anything other than quarterly. Don't do this monthly crap with with the base with the salary. It takes too much time. I mean, I ran a sales team. Do not do monthly. Okay, you pay it quarterly on gross receipts. You're never borrowing money. You're never dipping into your cash reserves. And that's in the agreement, right? You'll be paid on your commissions are paid on gross receipts. You are never out money. And what happens if there's a problem and they fail to pay? You're not caught, having paid out a commission, right? What if they resign or get terminated? And all of this that we're talking about today needs to be in the employee agreement, okay? If you fire them 2 weeks after a contract's awarded, depending on the reason, right? If it was sexual harassment, something else, and this is in the agreement, right? If you're fired for cause or for something serious, you lose your commissions. But let's say you fired them for whatever reason, you just didn't like them, or you were going to fire them anyway, you feel like they got lucky winning the contract, you should pay that first quarter, right? If the contract is canceled, yeah, commissions obviously cancel. If they resign, give them a quarter commission, right? It doesn't matter whether it's a base contract, renewal, etc. But if they win a $5 million contract that pays them, I don't know, $200,000 in commission, and they resign and they go, you owe me that 200, and you go, no. If you remember, if you would look at your employment agreement, it stipulates if you resign, all commissions go 1 quarter out and then they cease. This is why so many companies have lawsuits with their salespeople that leave companies, because it's not clear. Hey, if you work for me, if you want all these commissions, let's say it's a 5-year contract, and it's like a $350,000 commission. Remember, it's paid on gross receipts over 5 years. And it's not coming out of your pocket, it's coming out of the payments from, made by the government. If somebody resigns 1 year in, I just say 4 years of commissions. If they want to make that money, they have to stay with the company. That's how it works. Okay? They're never guaranteed. So what did we learn today? We talked about, how you got to run a lean company, right? You got to run a lean company to afford these top salespeople. Remove those mental barriers, the psychology, right? Your company can afford these folks. You just have to put the right process in place, right? 3, 6, 12, focus. All these interview questions are about walking an opportunity through the pipeline, right? Compensation plan, etc. Now, before we go to Q&A, Game Changers. This is a podcast. It's free. It's one of the more popular ones out there. It's SoundCloud, iTunes, wherever you listen. If you want to learn more about yourself personally, how do you move opportunities through the pipeline? That's the Insider's Guide. Okay, it's #1 bestseller on Amazon. All about how you manage sales, right? But we got all kinds of books. So connect with me on LinkedIn. Say, hey, I was on the MVSBC webinar. Loved it, hated it. Get Insider's Guide if you've never seen it. Podcast. And then this presentation and a bunch of free templates. If you don't have an account on our Federal Access platform, that's a free account. You can do a free account. And with that, I am going to thank everybody and turn it back over to Earl and see if we have any Q&A.
Oh my goodness, that's a lot of information you gave us today.
It is, but it's so bloody important. I mean, I hope I've really opened the eyes for some folks to go, oh, that's how you do that.
Yeah, you did open some eyes. I got a comment today that Norris wrote, I need this information 5 years ago. So
yeah, no, I'm sorry you didn't have it 5 years ago, but I love hearing that.
Yeah, great. So right now we are open up for Q&A. Does anybody have any questions? Just a reminder that we will have this presentation, the recording and the slides to you by Friday. Just to let you all know.
So I think people are thinking through this, and it's rare for me not to have a question, but if we don't have any questions, I do hope though that you take these things into account. And FYI, if you have a question after the fact, send me an email to contact@RSM Federal. It's on the screen there. But yeah, send me a note and just go, hey, I'm thinking of doing this, but maybe this doesn't work perfectly for my company. What would you recommend? If you give me a call.
Yeah, well, we do have a question from Michael Curry. He writes, what are the best practices metrics to gauge on how your new superstar is performing?
Well, I'm going to share something for you. Stand by. All right, let's go to here. Let's go to here. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
All right, you can see the triangle?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, first name of the person that asked that?
Michael Curry.
Michael. Okay. So, every company, from a sales perspective, starts with an annual revenue target. Okay. By the way, if you're wondering where this is from Federal Access. Every company has a target. There's a calculator that you run that tells you, well, in order to make $2 million this year or 10 million, I have to have so many new opportunities in my pipeline every month. I need to respond to so many proposals every quarter. I have to respond to a certain number of sources sought, right, every month, because I know that I have a 5-to-1 P-win, 5-to-1 ratio. For every opportunity we go after, we win one. And of those opportunities, I know that a certain number have to be prime and certain number sub. If I'm brand new to the market, probably 60, 40, 70, 30. 60 sub, 40 prime, 70 sub, 30 prime. Or I'm more established. I want to be 70, 30 on the prime side, or 60, 40. You must have quantifiable metrics, right? That you're using to track your salespeople, so that you don't have to ask them. You look at the pipeline and go, hey, we need more opportunities in the pipeline. What's keeping you from finding qualified opportunities? Or you have a ton of opportunities in the pipeline. You're hitting those numbers. I see the source of SALT responses are hitting the number. But we have to have a minimum of 3 proposals submitted every month. And we don't care if those are prime or sub. So get on more teams. Talk to me about it. Allows you to, instead, because Michael, here's what happens, and I think you'll understand this. A lot of salespeople, they'll go through the company for 8 months to a year, and the ownership is like, I thought they were so close. God, they were talking the talk. It sounded like they were doing all the right things. But I just keep getting excuses, and they sound good, but we're not winning. This triangle, this is how you manage them, so that 3 months in, you go, time out. I hear all the great things you're doing, but you're not hitting your numbers. Okay. I need you to hit a certain number of proposals every month, certain number of opportunities in this stage, in this stage, in that stage on your pipeline. So whether we're talking average, star, superstar, you do need to have those metrics. But to have those metrics, you got to know what your numbers are at a high level, what that annual revenue target is. So, Michael, that was probably a little bit more than what you were looking for, but hopefully that helped.
Okay, we do have something from John Barry. He writes that you said commission only is the draw is old school. Is that what I have done so far? Was that a question?
What's the last statement that he made?
What I've done so far.
Okay, so if you've been successful doing that, my hat off to you. And there are some companies that go, Josh, I can't even afford a low base salary. We just can't do it. We're not there. Well, I get that. I will tell you, it takes money to make money. And you've heard all these buzz phrases, and still you're probably thinking, you know, Josh, that's great, but don't care. We just can't do it. If that's all you can do, so be it. Okay, so be it. Yeah. I think there are ways for you to, some companies, some entrepreneurs, there's just no way, but the average company can find a way. We just have to work through the numbers. My point on the commission only is that you're never going to get a really strong star superstar commission only. And if you do, because one, they're already getting paid by another company, you're going to have to steal them. Mm-hmm. Two, you're not paying them. They got other things to do, you know? So, and by the way, it takes a lot of time. You're managing that person, right? You're probably having weekly calls, monthly calls. They're setting things up for you. It's a lot of time and money. Yes, it can be done, but I'm telling you right now, 99 out of 100 companies that do commission only, folks, never see a penny, but they've spent a ton of time managing that individual. So now, if you're telling me that's all you've done to date and you have successfully won some stuff, sounds like you're that 1 out of 100. Good for you. That's awesome. But if you really haven't won a lot, I'm hopefully giving you some reasons why.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah. Next one is from North Middleton, on one of the board of directors of NVSPC. First, yeah, Thank you, Norris, for welcoming me back. It's great to be back in the saddle. The question that you have is, should you use a lawyer to put together an agreement?
That's a great question. The first one, yeah, I would. I mean, our members have access to a commission plan, right? A full plan, but in bright bold letters it goes, "We are not lawyers. This is not legal advice," right? Um, anything like that, because of it's a great question. Thank you for asking it. Because of the potential legal ramifications, we're talking hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in compensation. Yes, you need an attorney to help you ensure that, there is no question you are absolutely protected. So thank you for asking that.
Yeah, and I got another one from Norris. Is that triangle available in the slides
No,
that you provided today? No. Yeah, he's
no.
looking for that triangle.
Now,
I have.
hey, hold on. I'm being a schmuck when I say that. If you connect, I have a dry sense of humor. So, no, it's not. Anybody that's still on here that wants a copy of that triangle, right? That's a part of our FA program.
Yeah.
Simply connect with me on LinkedIn. In your LinkedIn, say, "Give me the triangle." Gimme, GIMME. Gimme the triangle. Okay. And I'll simply send that JPEG to you.
Great,
Hey, anybody that's on the board of directors for the NVSPC, of course you can have it.
Okay, another one from John Barry. Base salary is what is needed for a expense, but 25% GP commission is the driver.
I'm sorry. I asked that question again.
Base salary is what is needed for their expenses, but 25% GP commission is the driver.
I don't understand the question. I mean, I get you're talking GP, that you're getting 25%, gross profit. This may not be your question, but if you've got 25% GP, that means your overhead and G&A, everything else is covered, right?
Mhm.
So, what should the commission be? Well, it should be as little as possible, but enough to hire a really strong salesperson. In technology, right? 3 to 6%. 6 is pretty high, but new business 3 to 6, renewal 1 to 2, or whatever the numbers are. I don't know if I'm answering your question. I maybe reword it a little bit differently. I may be able to help you on that.
Yeah. Well, we got a few more minutes left. Is there any more questions from the attendees?
And I hope everybody enjoyed it. This is one of those really unique GovCon webinars, because it's not about winning the contracts, it's about your back office.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any more questions from the attendees? Going once? Going twice? Well, thank you again, Josh, for taking time out to do this webinar. You did it last year. You started off Charlie and Mike last year. And you're starting off Charlie and Mike again. So we love having you start off the webinar series for us. And hopefully you get to do this again in the next couple of months.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Roll. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And again, I invite you to go to the chapter dinner on the 9th of March for everybody. And again, if you want to see Josh in person, attend MIKE'22 in Orlando. It's going to be hot.
Yeah, I'll be using my radio voice.
There you go. Well, thank you so much. Until the next Charlie Mike, I'm signing off. See you guys next time.
Thanks,
Take
everybody.
care.
Take care.